As a kid, I noticed when there was crayons, and someone was like, "Oh, why are you coloring the sky purple?" And I was like, "What do you mean?"
Because I have an imagination. Asshole.
It's because they didn't have the little sticker that said purple on it. It was worn off, so I just was coloring before I relied on that little thing that said blue.
When
purple.
I was a kid, I ate crayons.
Carter comes up shooting. Got it! 1.2 seconds to go. Vince Carter, you are amazing.
Give it to me, a little baby black. Get that garbage out of here.
Welcome to Toronto Sport Matters, podcast number 63. I think it's 63. Greg and I had a little discussion to start. I can't remember. I'm losing track of this shit. We got the gang together. Right in front of me is Christian Wolfgang Graffin, fresh from the Dominican Republic. Hopefully didn't bring back some sort of disease or ailment. Are you okay?
Just a lot of flaky skin. That's all. Burnt on the first day and wore a sun shirt the rest of it.
That's fucking...
I am still a snake. I'm literally just flaking all over my
That sucks, man,
office.
dude, because Christian and I are both half Asian, but I don't burn. Like, I've been sunburned twice in my life. I'm just awesome. My skin's awesome, and it never fucking gets burnt, so...
Do you tan?
I get the greatest tan. I look like a fucking Puerto Rican farmer every time.
So are you one of those assholes that like wears tanning oil when you go to the beach then?
Oh, I don't need oil. Dude, I went to, little side story, when I went to Mexico, I got like the worst heat stroke I've ever had in my life. 4 hours in the sun. I don't burn, so I'm just laying there, and I got home, and then like my body started seizuring up in bed, and I like lay on the concrete tiles in my bathroom for the entire night because I thought I was going to die.
Because you don't get burnt, which is your body's warning.
I was just like pounding
I'll never
Pedialyte.
have that. My body will be too burnt before I get sunstroke.
Greg,
so
you're Cypriot, so I'm assuming you don't get burned either.
Yeah, or get
olive,
sunstroke.
bud. I just go olive.
I hate olives. Wait, what do you...
My dad told me as a kid if I ate olives, it would make my balua grow bigger. Balua means little birdie.
So your dad, when you were a kid, said to you if you eat olives, your dick will grow larger?
That's right.
Oh, that's an aggressive statement, Pops. All right, let's get to the topic at hand.
On.
Toronto Raptors basketball. I guess we'll start this one off with, since we last spoke, the team went a pretty mediocre stretch one. We've gone 3-3. I guess we'll start it off. DeMar DeRozan return to Toronto against the San Antonio Spurs. Any emotions, guys? Any sadness? Is it really just weird to see DeMar on the Raptors court wearing, I wouldn't say enemy colors, but foreign colors for sure. The black and silver. Or gold.
I found the tribute to be pretty touching. Like I was at the game when Dwayne Casey came back, and that the building was pretty emotional. I wasn't at this game, but just from watching it, you could tell like the fans have a connection to that guy, right? And I thought that they gave him the respect that he deserves.
All right, so team went 3-3 in the last 6. Losses to the Detroit Pistons, the Orlando Magic, and last night against Houston with wins over Boston, Portland, and like I mentioned, San Antonio. Christian, what game stood out to the most and why?
I would say for me, probably the Boston game.
Yeah.
And honestly, it was a game that Boston, they've been struggling lately, and we're going to talk about that later. But it was one of those games where the Raptors wanted to even up the season series 2-2. I still think Boston's a threat. Like I know that they're struggling, but for me, I think it's the peace of mind for the Raptors people that they crushed them as well. Like it wasn't even a close game.
Yep.
Kyrie was completely invisible. I don't know. I think for me, it was kind of the perfect game to end out a season against a team that you very well could face in the playoffs.
Yep.
So it seems like they were cohesive, which is almost the opposite of what they had against last night in Houston.
Let's get to that. Greg, we'll throw it to you in a second. Obviously, the team's been struggling from the bench and the entire season. We had the bench mob last year. That was what we were known for, having this deep, 5 to 11 roster. And fucking Graffin's got the phone on, man.
It's just all these sources.
A lot of
unnamed sources texting me about rumors.
All these sources getting to.
Yeah, man.
But the bench mob last year looked fantastic. That was our identity coming in the season. The team has obviously struggled off the bench. Last night was the best example of that. What do we need to do to right the ship? Obviously, we brought in a couple new guys. We got Gasol. We got Jeremy Lin. We brought in Meeks as well. What needs to happen to make sure that we have the same sort of success we had last season coming from the bench?
Well, I don't think we're going to pick up Meeks, right? I don't think we re-signed him again, which is
I'm saying a roster spot, a guy to fill that spot.
And what Graf and sources were just actually telling him here is that Marcin Gortat is rumored to be interested in the Raptors, and the Raptors have interest in him, and that might be a nice backup power big in case Gasol gets injured. I like that idea. He could also pass the ball out of the high post. Oh, geez. That, the bench, and, last night I was screaming at my television because I thought that Nurse kept the bench in a little too long, right? Hopefully when Van Vliet comes back, he can right the ship. I think the larger problem, though, is that there's absolutely no consistency in the lineups. And, we can talk about Nick Nurse being like a mad scientist and being able to play in whatever combinations he can. But the truth of the matter is that, as Jack Armstrong said on air, winning at high levels requires the building of habits, right? Right. Practice doesn't make perfect. It makes permanent. And these are bad habits. But, when I'm seeing Jeremy Lin running this offense, giving the ball away, missing threes. He hasn't hit a three yet.
Well, there's also a lack of continuity we were talking about. These guys are not used to playing together as a unit. Kawhi is sitting out games. Kyle misses a stretch. Gasol's coming in as a third star. But how many, it takes
and it's
reps,
evident, right? It's evident. And there's last night was like you see the peaks and the valleys. You see the potential of a team when we came out and blitzed Houston in the third. And you're comparing what Houston did to Boston and how Boston just rolled over and died, and then the Raptors fight back like they did, right? It shows that the team, we can flip the switch and we have the talent, and at our best, we are an elite team in the league. I still think we're a top 3 team in the league. I still think we're the favorite to come out of the East, but the consistency is an issue. The bench, look, in the playoffs, man, tighten up that rotation. And Kawhi needs to play more.
Well, that's something we'll get to in a second with Christian. Sorry.
No, I was going to say that's what's going to happen in the playoffs. But I think just to fix it, in my mind, I would try starting Ibaka and Gasol together and putting Siakam on the bench and having him come off. Powell, and Fred VanVleet, when he's healthy, were part of that G League squad that won the championship. Like they have that consistency together. Even, DeLon's gone, but he would have been part of that in the past too. So I think try it out. We have 17 games left. It's experimental time. Or
is it though? Is it experiment time or
I don't get to that, but or option 2 is you leave Lowry and Siakam out there.
Yeah.
And take off Kawhi, Danny Green, and Ibaka first. Or Marc Gasol first, because I feel like Lowry works really well with the bench. He's still the floor general that you need to have, or else we have people like, at this point, it's like Jeremy Lin is our number 2 point guard, carrying the ball.
To be fair to him, though, it's like, it's difficult, right? Like, when he came in, we didn't get him to run the offense when Lowry's out. Like, it was to, support Van Vliet.
Yeah,
who was doing that, right? And it's a lot as a point guard to come into a situation like this where the expectations are so high, right? And I really think with him, his confidence isn't there yet.
I know, but again, it comes back to what Brandan said originally, that they just need to develop some chemistry. These guys never play together. When they do, it's load management or there's an injury involved. So
I'll tell you who has chemistry: Gasol and Lowry. They have more chemistry. Okay, in a handful of games than Lowry and Valanciunas ever had. It is remarkable to me. It's so evident, right? Like, you put these two intelligent basketball players beside each other and they just work.
The only problem is when one has a bad game, it seems like they both do. They both had 8 points last night. Lowry went 8, 6, and 6 in 42 minutes. They feed almost now off each other's game in a way.
It's that pick and roll, right? I feel like our offense now, we have it's either like ISO Leonard or Lowry Gasol pick and roll, but at least we have that.
Well, the little stat I'm going to pull up right now, I read from the Ringer today. Kyle Lowry's role may be more valuable than Kawhi's because the offense basically falls apart. Look, Lowry, creating shots for his teammates. Their net rating drops from plus 9.8 in basically 1,700 minutes on the floor of Kyle Lowry to minus 2.3 in 1,300 minutes with him off. Kawhi's presence had basically no effect whatsoever. That rating was the same. Didn't budge. It was plus 6 in 1,500 and plus 4.1 in 14. So Lowry not on the floor. It's a detriment to the team's identity.
We're 13-4 in the games that Kawhi's missed this season.
Yeah, and just to your point there, Brandon, Jeff Van Gundy, when he was interviewed about the Raptors, it was a couple months ago, he's like, Kawhi Leonard is the Raptors' best player, but Kyle Lowry is their most important player. And I think we're seeing it now.
For sure.
Go on.
So last two topics, just breeze by these really quickly. I'll throw this one. I'm going to finish off with Christian. Greg, I'm going to throw you one right now. Dwayne Casey throwing a couple chirps, kind of subtle jabs at the Toronto Raptors. Talking to The Athletic, thoughts on the Raptors if they want them in the first round. He said, it would mean a lot. This is a storied franchise in Detroit. There are 3 championship trophies you see every time you walk in the building. It's not like in Toronto where they've never tasted it. The fans in Detroit, they know what a championship is all about. And it's like, let's get this thing back on track. From my perspective, he's just speaking the truth. Like, there's no fucking championship banners in the Raptors arena. Like, if anyone can throw some shade or is entitled to throw some shade to the Raptors, it would be Dwayne Casey. The guy gave...
And that's like, a very little bit of shade. When Dwayne Casey gives you a slight, like, he's such a gentleman that it's like not really a big insult. And he's saying that about the fans there in Detroit. Mind you, like, when the last game we were there, it was more like a Raptors home game.
Exactly.
So I don't know what the fuck he's talking about.
He was the coach for majority of the time that Toronto had a chance at the championship. Like, if anything, he's kind of chirping himself.
We would demolish
a
Detroit in a playoff series.
I would love to face Detroit. I think it would be fun because they have that mentality that they can beat us now, especially Dwayne Casey.
And to your earlier point, why weren't we playing Gasol and Ibaka to match up against Drummond and Griffin? Like, Nurse is like, he really wants to try to always go small.
Yeah, we had OG guarding Blake Griffin the one night. So that...
And he did an admirable job, but that's a perfect, Jack Armstrong said in our interview, right? Like, why can't they play together? And that would be a matchup to try it.
Yeah.
Alrighty, we're talking about last topic for the Raptors. We're talking about earlier in the pod about maybe trimming down the rotation come playoff time. Maybe don't have as much depth as we had last season, but there are a couple guys on the fringe. I know, Christian, you want to have a brief discussion about our options come playoff time. It's obviously going to consist of maybe 8-9 guys. I'm reading what you have jot down right now. You got the point guard position, Lowry, Fred VanVleet, shooting guard, Danny Green, small forward, Kawhi, power forward, Pascal, and the centers are obviously Marcus Gasol, Serge Ibaka. Guys who are kind of on the fence, though. You got OG, Jeremy Boucher, OG Anunoby, Jeremy Lin, you got Norm Powell and Patty McCaw. How do you see this sort of roster kind of forming come playoff time, and who's on the chopping block? Who's going to lose minutes?
Yeah, well, I think Fred VanVleet and Lowry are going to go back and forth. So the point guard spot's kind of good, which in my mind takes Jeremy Lin almost out of the discussion, unless he can look at Jeremy Lin hasn't hit a 3 yet as a Raptor. So unless he can turn it around a little bit, and I know you said he's still gelling. He's got 17 games to prove that he deserves to be in the playoff
That's going to turn around. Like, He's going to regress to the mean. Like, he's not that bad.
Patrick McCaw, doesn't matter. He's not on the rotation in the playoffs. Patrick McCaw, in my mind, is a specialist. So he's a defensive guy that can actually go for matchups. Let's just say we face someone like, Golden State, let's just throw it out there because it's easy, but they have so many offensive weapons. It's somewhere where he could disrupt, let's just say. Powell, I think, is the odd man out because he's been playing so poorly down the stretch, although he's streaky. You just can't afford to have him have a bad streak in the playoffs. So he's out. The hard one for me is OG. And OG has been used a lot. I think Nick Nurse down the stretch in the last couple of games has been really trying to push OG to be that guy that's going to be the playoff rotation for us. Because I truly think of everyone I mentioned, he's got the best chance to make it. But honestly, at this point, McCaw's in the lead. Like, McCaw would be my number one guy out of those to round out our playoff rotation.
And it's all predicated on the matchup as well, though, right? McCaw, Anunoby, size of length.
I think OG's got to play. Like, just from a development perspective,
we're not going to give him a chance in the playoff to play. If he's not playing well in the first 5 minutes, we probably won't play again.
But I also feel like part of the reason when he struggles, right? Like, because our offense, like, we're trying to get up so many threes, like, that's not OG's game, And, like, so I feel like, he'll shoot a couple threes and then his confidence will be affected. His 3-point shoot's gotten much better.
Yep.
But I think he's improved a lot he's growing. He is growing. I think he had a death in his family. You could see it affected him. He missed some time. But I want to see OG in the playoffs. Right? He's such an athletic defender, man. And he played good last year in the playoffs. And again, we drafted him. We got to develop him. You need time to grow.
So if you play OG, then you have no problem with, it's definitely Powell and Lynn not playing because McCaw is probably going to be the next guy, right? So
I don't understand what's going on with Powell. Like, when he came back from that injury, he was playing within himself. I'd never seen him play so good, and I thought he turned the corner. And now, ever since the trade, it's like he feels like he has to prove something, or it just disrupted his rhythm. I'm not quite sure, but
No,
I agree. I'm concerned about him.
So, I mean, in the end, I think it's McCaw. Greg thinks it's Chris Boucher. And Brandan thinks it's Jeremy Lin because he's half Asian. All right, moving on.
You're also half Asian, so 2-1. Fuck you. So jumping in the second quarter, just general NBA news really quickly, guys. So Golden State Warriors have gone 3-5 over the past 2 weeks of losses to Orlando, who are surging, and Miami Heat are pretty shit. As well as Houston and Portland. The NBA's best offense dropped down to 21st in the league during that stretch, with the team's defense dropping to 27th in efficiency, which is worse than the Atlanta Hawks, Cleveland Cavaliers, and the Phoenix Suns. Yikes. After failing to score 100 points for the second time in 3 games, are the Golden State Warriors starting to show signs of vulnerability? And on the flip side, after last night's win by Boston, did they keep themselves in discussion as a contender after posting a fucking horrendous 1-5 record before last night after the All-Star break?
As much as I hate to say it, I think by stomping the Warriors like that at home, they reminded themselves and the rest of the league that they still are going to be a force to be reckoned with in the playoffs. I don't think they're going to come out of the East because what you saw last night, I think, was a bit of an aberration because Gordon Hayward had such a good game. And that's the thing. People talk about, the Celtics have so much talent. Like, they're so talented. They can't keep this up. They got to break out of this. With a healthy Gordon Hayward as an all-star, yeah, they're really, really talented. When you take him out of that...
Yeah, which happens once every 7 games.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, without... Like, you know what I mean? People are envisioning this team with that second all-star, maybe a third all-star in Jason Tatum. But the reality is Tatum didn't take the leap. Brown regressed. And Hayward is recovering from a major injury, and it's going to take him some time. On top of that, you have Kyrie Irving just stirring the pot. He's telling people, I don't want to be I'm not in this to be a celebrity. You were in a movie last year, man. Mm-hmm. Like, and on the point of the Warriors, I think, because they attacked Boogie last night.
Well, so let's save it to the Celtics for now. Let's jump to the Warriors for a second. Christian, any other comments about the Celtics?
Yeah, so I think it's a little bit, what you said earlier, that Boston has convinced himself that they're...
Maybe.
I think it's more for the media than anything else. Like, they're playing in a back-to-back. Kyrie's not playing tonight. If you listen to
which means they'll play well.
Or
hard.
If you listen to the interviews, my only point here is that Kyrie is speaking as if he is one of the greatest to play the game. He keeps saying, "I'm one of the best. Me, LeBron, and Durant are on the top of the game right now. We're on another level."
Well, even the hierarchy of the point guard position, like, he got toasted by Damian Lillard when they played the Blazers.
But his mentality and the way he sees himself is just, I don't know, like, him leaving Cleveland and doing all that is, in my mind now, especially if he leaves Boston, is almost as snaky as Kevin Durant joining the Warriors. And that's, I thought, one of the biggest snake moves. I just don't think Kyrie's mentally there. You guys say LeBron's sort of checked out, which we're going to talk about later.
Yeah, but LeBron has earned that respect. If LeBron James is giving you shit, if LeBron is big brothering, Kuzma, if he's big brothering Ingram, they got to shut their fucking mouth and listen to it, because LeBron James, 34 years old, been in the league for 15 plus years. Kyrie Irving, on the other side, is an unproven player who's never led a team to the NBA championship. Yeah. He's been a complimentary piece, but he's never sort of carved the career same as James. And you look at the body language from the younger guys like Terry Rozier, Jaylen Brown, even fucking Jason Tatum, they're just shut the fuck up, stop talking to me. Look at that roster construct, like Marcus Morris had a great couple months to start the season. That guy's looked like complete dog shit the last couple months. Just the lack of trades they made, even depreciating assets. Jaylen Brown was a 39% 3-point shooter last year. The guy's shooting just over 30% this season.
I think, honestly, Kyrie's upset that they didn't trade for Anthony Davis. And I think that trade, everybody talks in the media right now about how the Lakers locker room is all shook because all these players were involved in trades. It happened happened in Boston too. They were all rumored as well. I mean, I know the fact that they couldn't have made the trade is there, but everyone's worried about it. Everyone knows that that's going to happen. I think if anything, in Kyrie's mind, he's stuck in a position right now where he knows he's not in the best team. He's nothing he can do about it.
Do you
more
think he's
himself.
Gonna leave?
I think he's gone.
We talked about this last year before the season started, though. Sorry, just go back this for the Celtics last point.
Yeah.
Before we jump to this, but we talked about this last season. They had so many. Hayward was out, Irving was out. This young group of scrappy guys and combination of vets band together and made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, to Game 7. You know, coming into the offseason, we were just having the conversation of how do we fit so many pieces? How do you stagger the minutes? You know what I mean? How does this team? What is this team going to look like? You know, with having to incorporate Hayward and Irving when it comes to the construct of the roster, especially on the offensive side of the ball. This is a classic example of just having too many stars. You know, you got to think about what is the best path to success. Is it maybe limiting Kyrie Irving's minutes? Maybe just benching the guy? I know it's a very far-fetched thing to say. Kyrie's still one of the best point guards in the NBA. But Greg, is that insane for me to say that in order for this team to succeed, you got to cut down Hayward's minutes, cut down Irving's minutes, find a way to find the best lineup come playoff time, regardless of the dollars behind their name.
Well,
the amount of money they're making. I mean,
Hayward's already kind of been put on the bench, and he's accepted his role, right? I think, look, you got Irving. Like, at this point, what you got is what you got. Like, you can't start to then give Irving less minutes and just hope that those other guys are going to bring it up. Like, you got to go behind Irving. Right? And bottom line is, like, he's a guy that can still hit big shots late in games. He's one of the best performers late in games. And in the playoffs, that's what you need to win. Right? So they're kind of stuck with him in that sense. It's going to be interesting if they perform well in the playoffs, right? Does he stay? Because as of now, it seems as though
he's gone.
People are acting like he's just gone.
I think he's gone.
I hope so. I just like turmoil in Boston, but like,
and
who knows?
And what does it say? The absolute last point about Boston. What does it say about Brad Stevens as a coach? Because last year he was coach of the year.
Yeah.
He got it over Dwayne Casey at the All-Star break. I remember everyone was wondering who's it going to be. Now it's kind of like there's a lot of turmoil. The team hasn't been playing well. The fans aren't happy. Well, Kyrie might leave. What does that say?
The knock now on Stevens is that he can perform with a team that's desperate and plucky, right? That, you know, the underdogs, the little giants, if you will. But he can't manage big-time superstar egos a la my man Phil Jackson.
Well, we'll see what happens next year.
They should bring in Phil.
Oh, my God, no.
$30 million a year.
Strong.
That's
soul of success.
Yeah, like fucking like Phil will come in and be like, I got this new CBD oil company I've been working with. Promo code Phil. No, if the Celtics, so like this season, just like the last point about the Celtics. Sure? Just next season, you know, we got player options of Al Horford, Kyrie Irving. Kyrie's obviously leaving. Al might jump ship and go to the fucking Golden State Warriors on a cheap discount contract, similar to Boogie Cousins, to get that championship ring. We might be talking about a team that's rebuilding next season. If both those guys leave, I don't think it'd be far-fetched for me to say they don't make the playoffs in 2019-2020 with a core of Tatum, Brown, and Hayward. The corpse of Hayward hopefully can come back next season and be the same guy it was a couple years ago. Alrighty, I know we were going to talk about the Golden State Warriors.
I'm just going to say quickly that I'm not worried about them at all. I've been a Warriors fan for a long time.
Let me just throw this in here slightly.
I just literally, everyone's freaking out because, you know, they lost to Boston or whatever. They lost
they're just
3 of
bored.
the last 5. Exactly. It's the regular season. But don't look into it too much.
Okay, here's the thing though. Can they win playing Boogie at the 5? Because you see what Boston did last night? They ran a 1-5 pick and roll again and again. Basically like what teams do to us when we used to put on Valanciunas.
Yeah, but you also did have Sean Livingston and Klay Thompson lineup, but also they can adjust, okay?
Yeah.
It's not happening.
Yeah, they can hurt you. They can make you pay on the other end.
Is there anything else you guys want to talk about the Warriors? Foregone conclusion, the winning championship. There's no parity in the NBA anymore.
Houston.
Stop it.
Houston and OKC can give them a run.
Oh, my God.
I hope to God. At least take. I'd like them to at least take 1 or 2 games. Make it an interesting
at
series.
least the Raptors.
I think we need
I have to face them in the finals. That's
Yeah.
the least that has to happen.
Yeah.
My goal is just to see the Warriors drop 1 game in the playoffs. That's a win for I don't know who actually.
Houston. That's the team that's going to do it to them.
So I'm gonna hand over my hosting duties over to Gregory Urashadas, who's got this bewildered look in his eyes right now.
Oh my god.
Greg, not the biggest college hoops guy, more about the Raptors.
I mean, Zion, man.
Grafton and I are going to do our top 10 NBA mock draft right now. Obviously, I'm going to be like the uber hipster pick guy and piss off Grafton with several of my selections, but obviously they're all going to come true. We've talked about we've been doing this for 2 years now. How many fucking picks have I hit off? Nut hugging on Marvin Bagley a little bit too much over here. I'm kidding.
And we did a quick recap of the picks that we both had, and I think I'm doing okay with my picks. I think the Jaren Jackson Jr.'s and the Wendell Carters of the world that Brandan picked are looking pretty dull right now to the Trae Youngs and the Marvin Bagleys that I selected.
Yeah, they're coming up now. You're right.
Although Luka Doncic, I grant you both were correct.
Yeah, that's the biggest one, okay?
But excluding
Dawn.
Luka Doncic.
Excluding the most important conversation or prediction with the draft
Dawn
last year,
Luka.
I won. All right, so who's going number 1? Pick. What team do we got here, Greg?
Going first in the Toronto Sport Matters mock draft, sponsored by
Diamond Pizza.
is Christian Graffin. Christian, who you got as number
What team? What team, bro?
We got. Oh, it's the Phoenix Suns. Sorry, I didn't say it is the Phoenix Suns.
It's the New York Knicks going number 1, by the way. I gave you guys a list and no one was listening to me. So New York Knicks going number 1. It's already off the rails of Greg.
This is why I don't host.
So number 1, New York Knicks going over to Christian Graffin.
You wanna go to me?
You and I have the same guy, so I'll just give it to you right now.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3.
Zion Williamson.
Okay, good.
There we go.
Good.
Talking about just a big physical stud, a monster. You do the draft profile.
Big Zion.
Big Zion. Come on, Graffin. Show the people or let the people hear about Zion Williamson, why he's a transcendent star, and why he should be the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, in my mind, there's never been an athlete that we've seen like this in college. It's as if LeBron James decided to go to college and didn't go straight to the
And just
NBA,
eat the entire fucking time.
Because I honestly do believe that right now, this year, if he was in the NBA, I think he'd be averaging at least 10 and 10. I truly do believe that. And I think he'd be one of those players that, first of all, you have to select him first because he's going to bring at least 3 amazing dunks to the game and energize the crowd and be the fan favorite.
From a business perspective.
100%. 100%. So,
Marketing.
Look, it's the New York Knicks, right? New York Knicks are planning on getting Kyrie Irving. They're planning on getting Kevin Durant. Who slots in more perfectly than someone like Zion Williamson, who in his first year doesn't need the ball to shoot. He just needs to get the rebounds that they miss and put back the dunk through the legs. Like, that's all they need right now. New York needs the showtime. I think Zion Williamson, in my mind, has been the most impressive prospect I've seen.
He's a definition of an
in the
incredibly
last
high
decade.
ceiling, super low floor. This guy could be an absolute dud coming into
I
the
don't
season.
think so at all. I don't think
But
there's
I
even
also
a thought
think,
of
but
it.
I also think he's a guy who can transcend the nature of the game. I think he's a unicorn. I think he's a once in a generation type talent that you have to take a gamble on. I think the biggest cause for concern is the amount of weight that guy's put on the last couple of years. They're talking about 100 pounds in about 2 years. So you're obviously putting a lot of mass on a 6'7" frame. I don't know if he's going to have knee issues, ankle issues. This is all speculation, but Zion's my lock for number 1. I guess we'll go down to number 2. Greg, what's number 2? What team?
Number 2, we got the Phoenix Suns.
All right, so I'll take this one. My number 2 pick for the Phoenix Suns, I'm going the point guard position, and I'm going for that 6'3" point guard, Jay Morant from Murray State.
Same with me.
Currently averaging 24 points per game, shooting 50% from the field, dropping just over 10 dimes, 5.5 rebounds. Pretty well-rounded skill set. 2 steals per game as well, so he's a pretty tenacious defender. You're talking about a transcendent playmaker, a guy who can find anyone, pinpoint pass on the court. Obviously, the number 1 skill set you're looking for at a point guard, but he's also a transcendent athlete. I know you keep dropping that word again, double transcendent, but Russell Westbrook type athleticism cutting to the lane as well. And again, his shooting stats are not that horrendous. You talk about point guards in college, Colin Sexton, for example, last year, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander typically struggled to shoot from the outside. Guy has a 34% three-point average. I know he's not playing against the most elite competition, his conference of Murray State, but again, the guy has all the tools to become, I'm not saying one of the best point guard in the NBA, but based on the Phoenix Suns needs and that skill set,
See, that's what I was was going to say.
Perfect combination of Devin Booker.
Graf,
I
is
think-
this you picked the same?
I concur. I have the exact same pick as Brandon, and I think exactly. I'm going to go off the point that you were sort of going there at the end. Is that the Suns this year? The biggest problem with them is they don't have a point guard. Like Eric Bledsoe's been the main. Not Eric Bledsoe. Devin Booker has been the person that's been carrying the ball for them up the court most of the time. So I think that, like you said, he's a Westbrook type player. I don't think he's as talented, but he certainly has the. I think in the NBA, especially in the point guard position, he's got the at least ability to be a really defensive, pesky sort of Patrick Beverley type of player at the minimum. So yeah, I'm taking him number 2, just like you would, and I think. Because it's between him and RJ Barrett, who I have next, because I'm going to move on right there. But I do think that the Suns don't need another player like that because he's too much like Devin Booker.
And moving on to the third pick.
Spoiler alert.
In the TSM draft. And this is the Cleveland Cavaliers picking, by the way. And Graffin, you want to get us started here?
Yeah, so I'm going with RJ Barrett. Cleveland might be a little scared of drafting Canadian players, but they do have a history of doing it with Bennett and Wiggins.
Bennett.
I do think that's why I think they might be scared. But I do think RJ Barrett is one of those players that could easily be the number 1 pick this year.
He's a sure thing.
I disagree. He's not a sure thing.
I don't think he's a sure thing because of his shooting. And I think that's been his biggest, also his consistency this year. However, I have the Canadian lenses on and I want to believe that he's going to be that good. I think low end ceiling for him is sort of Andrew Wiggins. I hate to say it because I think
I don't know about that.
I think he's talented enough to be
I think
at
it's
least
a lot. Listen,
Andrew
man,
Wiggins.
I had a lot of love for RJ coming this season. He's not my number 3, and I don't think his lowest possible. I don't think his floor is Andrew Wiggins. I think it's a lot lower. I think the issue with RJ is that sort of, alpha male mentality every single night, feeling like he has to carry the team's offense, carry the burden of the team every single game. Like the amount of shots he forces up. Why I pick Zion number 1 is that he runs fluid with the game. His points aren't
very
forced.
unselfish.
Very unselfish, but he's also not forcing up shots. You're not stopping the flow of the team's, of the team going into the game. Like
RJ does that?
RJ it seems like he has to stop. He has issues creating separation and creating his own shot as well. Struggles in the half court as well. He's an incredibly gifted guy, but he came in the season with a hypothetical upside of being a point forward playmaker type, hasn't developed his playmaking skill or ball handling skills, and he's just forcing up shots. And I can't see him having the ball handling skills to create separation in the NBA if he can't do it in college.
Okay, I'm going to say quickly, he's scoring over 27 points per game against top 10 teams this season. He does well against the good players. He's also averaging 25 points.
All right, so
54% shooting when Zion's not playing. So I agree he's taking over games. He's also getting 8 rebounds and 6 assists.
So my guy for Cleveland number 3, based on their current roster contract, you're talking about Sadari Osman, Colin Sexton, Kevin Love, a guy that I don't think has the same sort of ceiling as RJ Barrett, but I think his floor is a lot higher, and I think he's going to be, at the worst case scenario, a very, very competent 3-and-D guy, similar in the same mold as Trevor Ariza, is Texas Tech's shooting guard, Jarrett Culver, 6'5" shooting guard, just your prototypical 3-and-D, long, lanky frame, 2-way wing, kind of a do-it-all player. Apparently, he's still growing, 6'5" to start the season. I think he measured just below 6'7" recently as well. So the guy is still putting on bulk. He's still growing. He could max out at 6'9", can shoot all over the floor, good score off the dribble, decent playmaker, good rebounder, just a solid athlete and player all around. I just think you got to take a very safe pick there. I wouldn't be surprised if they took RJ as well. I'm not saying that pick's wrong. I just think Jarrett Culver's would be my personal pick.
I would trade down then if I were them. I don't
Yeah.
think that's going to be a popular top 3.
Moving on to the number 4 pick with the Chicago Bulls. Brandon, who you got?
So I'm drafting Fernie in the situation. I don't think Chris Dunn's a fucking solution to point guard for them. And I was watching tape as kind of start the season. I was watching tape him again. It's a guy who had a pretty bad meniscus injury, but it's Darius Garland, point guard from Vanderbilt, 6'2" point guard. Average 60 points per game to start the season. Obviously, there's lingering issues with his meniscus tear, but if he comes back healthy, if all the tests come back positive, he's a top 5 guy. Similar to Trae Young, shoot first mentality. Maybe not as a competent 3-point shooter as Trae Young, but a way better athlete. I think will translate better to the defensive side of the ball as well. Capable of creating space with strong ball handling skills, and also the fact that they're locked in Otto Porter Jr. I would say RJ Barrett would be the most sensible guy to pick for the Bulls. But since they traded for Otto Porter Jr., I think RJ wouldn't be a great fit for that team. And I like Garland over any other point guard in this draft. I don't think I'm reaching that much of Garland. I was watching this guy play. I know his hype coming in, 5-star recruit from high school. The guy, has been performing at all levels of his career so far.
So how come you don't have him above Jared Culver then?
Huh?
How come you don't have him above Jared Culver?
Because he's a point guard. Colin Sexton is already a point guard for the Cleveland Cavaliers. I have Culver and Sexton in the backcourt, and the Chicago Bulls either the front court. I think Levine and Garland would be a good front court.
Who you got, Graf?
Or backcourt, sorry.
Okay, because I have Jared Culver going to the Bulls.
Yeah.
And like I said, like you
that's
said.
That's not a bad fit. I'm not saying that's like a Culver is a better fit than Barrett because Culver is more of a Swiss Army knife. RJ Barrett's very sort of rigid in his skill set.
Yeah, and like you said, with Chris Dunn, he's unproven right now. Chris Dunn, you're right. At this point,
you got to think,
career,
but Chris Dunn got drafted as a senior at the age of 23. The guy's like 26 now. Like it's similar to DeLon Wright. You know, like it's not a young buck coming in the league, right?
But I still think that you could slot both. Look, they're so young and they're not that good, the Bulls, that you could play Culver at the 2 and you can easily play Chris Dunn at the 1 and then switch them, transition them as much as they want. So I think if anything, you just want to give Culver as much space as possible. The Bulls, in my mind, are a bad drafting team.
You got Culver though, right?
But I do have Culver as my third pick. Yeah.
Okay.
Moving on.
Because I was going to say,
to the 5.
Just last point here. If I, let's say that I was going to pick RJ, that would have to make Otto Porter Jr. side of the 4. They've already invested draft capital in Larry Markkanen and Wendell Carter. It would make no sense to have one of those guys coming up the bench.
I still think if you're in the top 5 of the draft, you draft the best player. You don't draft for your needs.
Moving on to 5. We got the Atlanta Hawks. Graf, who you got?
So, I don't know. I was going to say we probably have the same player here.
Do you mind if I go first on this one?
Do you want to do the same thing before?
No, because this is going to be, I know exactly who it's going to be. Okay. I'm going RJ Barrett.
Okay.
I'll give you number 5 I'll before I get into this.
Okay, so in my mind, there's no way he slides to the 5th, RJ Barrett. So I have Cam Reddish here, and I think that the whole issue with Cam Reddish and why I think he'll drop this far is because, first of all, the whole Zion Williamson to Duke has kind of really ruined the draft prospect of him and RJ Barrett.
Yeah,
had they gone elsewhere, honestly, they all would have been in the mix. They all would have been crushing it for their teams. Mm-hmm. And when Cameron Reddish now has got the chance, like when Zion hasn't played and they've gone to him, he hasn't performed well. And I think it's just because it's a product of this year. He's been the number 3 option.
Yeah, so he's not used to it.
Exactly.
So I got to
ask him to come out.
I
think he has the talent, though. Cam Reddish is still, before this season started, again, keep in mind, Zion, RJ Barrett, and Cam Reddish were like number 1, 2, and 3 draft prospects coming out of high school, and they all decided to go there.
Very poor decision for all of them to go to the same program.
I fully agree with you.
Going number 5 is another Duke guy. It's RJ Barrett. We just talked about him already. 6'7" shooting guard, small forward from Duke. We just mentioned 23 points per game, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. Pretty well-rounded skill set. I always talk about his deficiencies. Could develop into a bit of a ball hog where his points are forced. I mentioned the Zion point as well. But if they do land RJ Barrett, it's a perfect like trifecta to what the Atlanta Hawks currently have on their roster. Complement to Trae Young in the backcourt, him and RJ Barrett, and Collins as well, the center position. That's a fucking fantastic core to build around. And I don't know, hopefully they can drop down to 5.
Did the number 6, we got the Vancouver Grizzlies.
The Memphis Grizzlies.
They'll always be the Vancouver Grizzlies to me.
I got number 6, I guess. I got from Gonzaga, 6'8" forward, Rui Hachimura.
Rui! There's the half Asian that we're representing.
From Japan. I don't think he's half Asian.
No, he's Asian.
Just the name.
No, he's born in Japan. He's not Asian, though.
No, he's
Surinamese.
Asian.
Where does that name come from?
He's from Suriname? I can't pronounce.
Suriname.
Yeah. But his family, I think he was basically born in Suriname and moved immediately to Japan.
But he looks mixed. I know what you're talking about.
Currently averaging 20.5 points per game, 6.5 rebounds, shooting 61% from the field, shooting a blistering 46% from the 3. That's only 1 attempt per game, so you'd like to see him develop his 3-point stroke a bit more. But he already has an NBA frame, long and lanky, great on the transition, beautiful rip and runner. Has the tools to be an elite lockdown NBA, all NBA defender. Obviously the offensive game's a little bit iffy. He has a very similar size and frame to Marvin Bagley. Unlike Marvin Bagley, who has a transcendent, offensive game, Rui has been struggling a little bit, but he has been getting the points in college. Worst case scenario, multi-positional defender. Who do you got at 6?
So FYI, he was born in Japan. But moving
Was he?
on,
Oh, but that's it. Wait, like I'm Japanese, but I'm born in Canada. I wouldn't like say like, oh, where are you from? Like, oh, Japan.
No,
Oh,
he's got some Japanese in him.
I mean, he was born there. But anyway, moving on. I like Rui Hachimura. He's the best player on the best team in the nation right now, in my mind. So it's hard to.
Yeah, well said.
It's hard to ignore that. It's like a Jalen Brunson kind of player from last year, right? Like, and I think he's doing really well on Dallas. So
yeah.
he's a player where I don't know exactly how great he'll be NBA wise, but I think he's just too. He's shown too much that you can ignore. But I don't have Rui. I have DeAndre Hunter here. And the reason why is the exact opposite of that. I think DeAndre Hunter is perfect for the NBA. He's your prototypical 3-and-D player. Worst comes to worst, he's going to be an absolute terror on
Where
defense.
does he play, Hunter?
But DeAndre
Virginia.
Hunter is on Virginia. Yeah,
6'7", small
Virginia?
forward, averaging 15.5 points per game, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, shooting 54%.
Just to keep us going here then, the next pick is with the Wizards. Who you got with the Wiz?
Well, with the Wizards, I have Nazir Little. And
Sorry, number 6 for the Grizzlies, you have DeAndre.
I have DeAndre Hunter.
And then number 7, you have Nasir Little from
I have
North
Nasir
Carolina.
Little. And Nasir Little has shown very little this year.
But you talk about raw skill set. No one blows you away more than Nasir Little.
Yes.
Especially before the season.
Although if you look at his stats, you'd be like, why is this guy even considered in the top 10?
Mm-hmm.
So that's, I think, the difference between things. He's not that big. He's gonna be maybe a center on a small ball rotation in the NBA, right? He's not a big guy at all, really, for the position that he plays. And I think that's hard to transition. Look at anybody who's been a smaller player but's dominated college and then has had to come to the NBA and try to do the same thing. It's never really happened. The transition's really hard. So I think, again, I think that the Wizards are a very bad or a very poor team that drafts as well. So I think they're going to go with Nazir Little and take a chance. Because right now, everyone else left on the board's guards, and they have Bradley Beal and John Wall. They're not really going to, it's hard for... Darius Garland would be the only other person they could pick here, or Bol Bol. So,
Brand, who you got?
Number 7, Washington Wizards. I got Cam Reddish. I think he can slide the 3 position as well. We just talked about him averaging 14 points per game and shooting 36% from the field. So the shot's obviously not falling in, but great size for 2-guard position, strong isolation player, fully capable of creating his own shot, point forward potential skill set, decent ball handles, versatile defender, can probably switch from the 1 to 3.
It's like an Otto Porter.
He goes cold for stretches. He kind of gets lost in the game. And he definitely avoids contact when he's obviously driving down the lane, and just lacks intensity overall on both sides of the court. He just seems like he takes so many plays off, and that's kind of alarming in college, right? You want to see a little bit more intensity, a little bit more energy on the court.
Just that Duke syndrome. Three superstars.
At number 8, the Atlanta Hawks.
So I'll go this one quickly. I got the Atlanta Hawks. We just talked about this guy already. It's
From Dallas in the Trae Young trade, by the way.
So that's DeAndre Hunter. Just impacts both sides of the court. We talked about this already, but defensive versatility, solid size on the perimeter, good strength in the low post, great mechanics from 3. He's not really shooting from the clip you'd like to see from his position as point of his career, especially coming back for a second year, but he could develop into a very solid 3-and-D complementary star. Strong rebounder per position, versatility that like most teams and all teams covered in the modern game. I guess the only limited thing would be he's an older prospect. His ceiling's not as high as some of the guys like Nasir Little, who I have going after him. But I like DeAndre Hunter. He got at 8.
Graf, what do you got at 8?
I have Bol Bol. And I know that he's going to have to spend a full season probably on the sidelines, which is fine for Atlanta. They can come last again and keep getting another draft pick and keep developing their players. They're so young, right? Trae Young's 20.
Yeah.
They're so young that they could easily afford. They're the only team that could really afford, in my mind, to stash someone who's in this top 10 like him, because they can just wait it out, right? So again, imagine if Trae Young pans out like he is, like to the Steph Curry potential, and Bol Bol actually turns out into being a 7-2 rim stopping player. That's a hard 1-2.
My only issue with Bol Bol is that I don't know if he'll be able to put on the size to be able to handle the rigors of playing in the low post in the NBA. His dad
the
as
low post
well.
isn't what it was, right?
Still, and I don't think he has the speed to be able to. Holy fuck!
Get these really skinny, weak dudes because there's no more contact.
I know. No, you're right. There's not too many tweeners in the NBA anymore, but he's still a tweener.
Next pick here, not number 9. We got the Pels. Graf, who you got?
I have Darius Garland with the Pels, and I think Darius Garland's one of the most talented, like you said earlier.
Drew can slide to the 2 position as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's his natural position. So for me, that's an obvious pick.
Number 9, my favorite player from the draft, from the Indiana Hoosiers, Romeo Langford, 6'6" shooting guard, 17 points per game. Obviously struggling from the 3-point line, but he has, he's basically Markelle Fultz. What I envision out of Markelle Fultz coming out of college. I know it's a very fucked up comp to put up, but the guy has got great size position. Guy's probably the most natural scorer out of anybody there in the top 5. In the top 10. Obviously, he struggles with the 3-point line, but I think he could develop into an absolute fucking stud. And I think the Pelicans in this situation need to draft a guy like that.
He's my biggest bust pick.
And Brandon, moving on here. We got the Timberwolves at the number 10 spot. Or Graf, you want to take this first,
so I have Rui here, so I took the Japanese-born player here. He's the best player on the best team.
Yeah.
I think the Timberwolves can't really afford too much of a risk at this point.
The residue of winning, right? Dudes that have won at high levels.
That's a great pick. If he falls to 10, that's a perfect selection for him because I got Sekou Doumbouya from France going number 10. And I just like the hypothetical upside. He's very similar to, like Jonathan Isaac, a little bit larger like OG Anunoby. He's going to be a project. The guy's not going to, obviously be a day one starter. Give him a couple years. But he's a perfect complementary piece.
Is he the biggest international prospect?
I think he is in this draft.
And I would say if it wasn't for Rui, I would have probably put Jackson Hayes here just because he's so raw, and I think they need a backup plan for Karl Anthony Towns.
For sure. And we're obviously going to come back throughout the season and change up the tournament's coming up. This is not set in stone. But
I'll watch the tournament. I will watch the tournament.
We're making a bracket.
Yeah, all right, so let's finish our podcast with Diamond Pizza's number 1 sponsored segment, Greg's Gripe.
No, but this is actually really interesting because I came in here and I wanted to gripe about all the fucking coverage about the Celtics and the Lakers. I don't understand this. Okay, you have a team like the Milwaukee Bucks doing something almost unprecedented, right? Since Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was there. Okay. Followed by a team like the Raptors, right? Also having a phenomenal season. And then a team like Denver. Okay, so you have these 3 quote-unquote smaller market teams that are really great stories. On top of that, you have a team like Indiana doing phenomenal without their best player, right? You got the Brooklyn Nets are another great story. But all you see on TV, stories upon stories about what's wrong with the Celtics. Who's to blame for the Lakers? So this was my gripe that I had planned to go into this, right? And then as I explained this, we got into somewhat of a debate regarding the Lakers and who is to blame and how culpable is one.
We can't escape talking about them,
You just
Greg.
can't escape talking about. But Graf, please tell me that you sympathize with what I'm saying. It's even if the team does badly, they're still the number 1 talking point. You know what, nation? Maybe the Celtics just aren't that fucking good.
Yeah, well, okay. Yes, I agree with you. But the Lakers got LeBron James.
Yeah.
He's the best player on the planet, right? So
no, there's definite gossip there. Okay?
I think people like seeing Boston fail. And people like seeing LeBron fail, specifically. So therefore, it's very easy for people to pick up on this whole Lakers are, the worst, or Boston's the worst, and people will go hammer it home. But our conversation turned a little different, right? Because we ended up talking about the Lakers, like you said, and
yeah. So in my gripe about complaining about this as the only thing to talk about, we are now going to debate specifically regarding LA, okay? Because Brandon and Graf then started going back and forth about how much blame here falls on the King.
See, and in my mind,
50-50.
So Brandon, okay, so before we started though, before I made my points, you said you were 100% it's on the King.
No,
I'll just go first.
You changed my perspective, but it's still on LeBron James.
Okay, so
51-49, just because I'm a spiteful asshole.
Okay, my quick points were that it can't be LeBron's fault that the Lakers as an organization have done absolutely jack all since they signed him.
How dare you? How fucking dare you disparage Rajon Rondo yet again on this podcast?
God, I would.
You don't like Javale McGee?
I would punch Rondo Rondo in the
Stevenson
face.
is a fucking legend.
Born ready.
What are we talking about here?
Let's
These guys are
compare it
icons, okay?
to, Dan
Michael
Gilbert.
Beasley.
If you could see the vein on his forehead right now.
Ivan Zubac. What, you didn't think this team was going to be a contender to start the season?
Beasley, yeah.
Imagine saying Dan Gilbert looks like a good GM or a good owner.
You know what's hilarious?
Because that's what Magic's doing.
The funniest thing was when everyone was like,
is doing.
They got Tyson Chandler from the Phoenix Suns. Like, oh my God, fucking James Jones just gave him the championship. What the fuck? The corpse,
Rajon
the
Rondo,
7'3"
Lance
fucking
Stevenson,
skeleton
Michael
of Tyson
Beasley.
Chandler.
I can go down the list. You want to? Cleveland signed Kevin Love this summer that they got LeBron James.
Yeah, they traded for him, yeah.
They traded for Kevin Love that summer. Miami already had Chris Bosh. You can't, as an organization, as LeBron James gets older, you have to plan around him. If he picks your team, it's a blessing. Now fucking figure it out.
Okay, but now, hold on. Now, that being said, though, they were on Christmas, right? 4th place in the West.
Yeah, he was playing.
Okay, yeah. Now, and there's multiple things that happened. Obviously, he gets injured, but they actually, just when he first got injured, they were actually playing okay. But to me, like, the biggest way that LeBron is culpable for where they're at is because of the way that him and his agent tried to force a trade. Because what happened was all those young dudes on the Lakers that were playing so hard for him and covering up for his defensive deficiencies stopped doing it. Because... Right? They realize...
Greg, it's easy when you're in Cleveland to go to a guy like Kevin Love and say, I need you to sacrifice for the importance of the team, the bigger picture, winning a championship. You can't say this to young, unproven guys who are trying to emerge and figure who they are in the NBA.
No, but they were
You can't go to
doing
Brandan Ingram. No, but I'm saying you can't go to Brandan Ingram and you can't go to Kyle Kuzma with the expectation that they're going to sort of embrace the team construct similar to what Cleveland did.
But they did. It was only when they were going to be traded that they stopped doing it.
They did to a certain degree. I think this was all the smoke screen, signing all these fucking idiots and these morons. I know I've mentioned this before on the podcast, but that's my opinion. LeBron James came in this season and he wanted to completely flip the script, get rid of every single person on the roster, especially the young guys, and bring in proven veterans. But if he came in day one and completely took over the identity of the organization and forced the team to flip, Ingram, Kuzma, Ball, etc., he would look like a megalomaniac lunatic. So he forced the team to sign these playmakers who he said justified by saying, like, I want to have more
they
ball
signed
movement.
Rondo and Stevenson before they signed LeBron, though. What are you talking about?
No. But that was, they knew LeBron had reached out to them prior.
I'm just saying,
they knew he was signing with LA a year before
everything you guys are saying right now is all assumption. You guys are assuming LeBron spoke. Hold on. You guys are assuming that LeBron spoke to the GM when he's not supposed to, the team he's going to sign for, but before he's supposed to, and is dictating who he wants to be traded in the free
correct.
I don't think. Okay, first of all,
that is not far-fetched of assumption. That is LeBron James.
Graph. No.
It's more of it's an assumption more than it could be a fact.
You're being a tad naive to think that LeBron isn't working behind the scenes to orchestrate. It's not LeBron.
100%.
It's like LeBron through his agent, through this person, right? And he's pulling the strings on this thing.
Okay, in my mind, though, for you to come in and say that LeBron, ever since he got to LA, all he's done is try to get rid of everybody and create this own identity, like, that's an assumption.
But just at the trade deadline.
That is an assumption.
No, at the trade deadline. He tried to get the young guys traded for AD.
He was at the All-Star weekend campaigning to get Anthony Davis. He's like basically might as well say, fuck Brandan Ingram, fuck Kyle Kuzma, come to me, we'll trade everybody. I don't give a fuck who I have to trade up this roster. Come to the LA Lakers, Anthony Davis. He was openly campaigning for him. LeBron James just comes off as a salty little bitch. I'm sorry. I love the guy. I think he's the greatest player of our second greatest player of all time. Just this whole situation, this whole fiasco, just comes off as a little bit of
His hair plugs look pretty good, though.
Yeah, they do. What happened there, man?
Space Jam.
Dude, if I
Space
go
Jam,
bald,
bud.
I want that millionaire money, man, because I'm not even going to say that joke again.
I mean, you're the best player in the world and you're 34 years old. And you're on a team that was in fourth place. Yeah, he is. And you were a team that was in fourth place before you got injured, and you came back and they're in 10th. You know what? Like, honestly, in my mind, if you're LeBron James, it's more of a message to the Lakers, like to Magic, to everybody on his own team. Like, guys, you have to figure it out. I don't think we can sit here and criticize LeBron any more than we can criticize Magic or anything the Lakers organization's done. What have they done before LeBron got there that proves that the Lakers organization's been going in the right direction? There's been nothing. Like, the head office of the Lakers is way more, in my mind, to blame than LeBron. There's no debate.
And you can't get your legacy and the location of your team dictate who you can get. You have to put together like at least a semi-competent roster, something resembling an identity, and hope to the God that they're
And that's exactly what the Clippers did, who's the antithesis of the Lakers. They just built a team. They didn't build around bullshit.
Yeah.
They built a team in order to get a superstar.
Yeah, you're right.
As opposed to the Lakers,
they just
which
built
got
a team.
superstar in free agency and is trying to build a team around.
So we can agree on the 51-49 breakdown, right?
Yeah, 59 for the Magic, 49 for LeBron. I agree.
No,
with
51-49. You're skewing the numbers here.
Yeah, 51 for the Lakers, 49 for LeBron. That's where I put that, because I agree with you. I do think LeBron, obviously, I'm not an idiot. I know LeBron's I just don't think he's doing it to the same extent that you guys are. I think Magic Johnson's doing this this is his team.
So who's on the hot seat now?
And don't forget,
because someone's got to fall
Luke
on the
Walton.
sword.
And yeah, Luke Walton.
And that I don't think is fair.
Of course.
You inherited a team with Rajon Rondo, Lance Stevenson.
It should be Magic Johnson
Right?
in my mind.
But it's not going to be.
No. It's because you guys are having the assumption that Magic Johnson's the guy that's like offering the contract. It's Rob Pelinka. What the fuck has Rob Pelinka done? Magic Johnson is just the face, the figurehead. You know what I mean? Magic Johnson's leading this team.
Someone's got to fall on the sword. They were booing LeBron the other night.
As much as you guys think I'm naive with LeBron not conducting back, I think you're naive to think that it's not Magic Johnson calling all the shots in the Lakers.
No,
Rob Pelinka is, if anything,
I think it's both of
an
them.
idiot. We both know that. We've made fun of him on the show multiple times. I think the first meeting he had with Magic Johnson probably went, okay, you stay out of the media's face and I'm going to run
You
the
just
show
said it
here.
though. Rob Pelinka is an idiot. What is an idiot move? What does an idiot do when they assemble a roster?
That's what I'm saying. It's
in
Magic
2018.
Johnson's decisions. I don't think it's his.
You think?
I think Luke Walton and Pelinka get fired this year. But Magic won't. You think Magic's getting fired this year? There's no chance.
No.
And I think it's primarily his fault.
That's a little genie bust on the Lakers, like the Lakers staff, to hire Magic Johnson as their GM because they have no escape clause in the situation. They're locked into Magic Johnson until they have a mutual sort of separation. But it can't be Magic Johnson. You're fucking fired. Get your ass on the goddamn sidewalk.
And this is my point why it's not fair to Walton. This guy inherited a roster built like for the Showtime 80s with like no 3-point shooting, and they're playing like LeBron as their 34-year-old lazy LeBron as their center. It's just flawed, man. And, like, he inherited the best player in the world who is a notorious coach killer.
Yeah.
He was doomed to fail.
It's like they're also the same age, the same draft class. It's like when you date a younger girl and you go to her house and you realize her older brother is the same age as you. It's just a fucking awkward situation, man. It's just like,
hey man,
like,
how's calculus class going? Dude, that assignment.
Remember the time we were getting tailored suits for the 2003 draft, and now you're fucking telling me how I should run my offense, even though I'm the greatest player of all time, and you have done nothing in your career. But hey, Luke, I'll fucking listen to you. Let's get a frappuccino.
Interesting
sometime.
note. Do you know who's rumored to be taking the job of Mr. Luke Walton? The two names?
Brian Shaw was one guy I heard out there.
First, I have heard of these are just my sources. Keep in mind,
you have no sources.
Teron Lu, the subtle genius of Teron.
Wow, where did you pull that one out of? That one was full of like left field. I would never think about happening.
Won a championship with LeBron.
Are you Nostradamus?
Secondly, J Kidd.
Oh my God, that's the worst decision they could ever make as an organization.
I think Greg's sources are Greg's brain.
Yeah,
Google.
Just like you're still on Jason Kidd Island.
Oh yeah, I think he'll.
How can you be on Jason Kidd Island still?
I think the Bucks would have been really good this year, even if he was there.
Jesus Christ, Graffin, can you help me out here for 1 second? We're winding down the podcast, guys. I just need to fucking own Greg.
Couldn't you see J Kidd coaching LeBron? He'd listen to him.
Two moves. They get J Kidd as their coach, and then they'll probably have to move LeBron to get Chris Boucher, but they get Chris Boucher on the roster as well.
Yep.
They're set, honestly. That's a dynasty for probably half a decade.
You know what? They fire Magic Johnson, they keep Rob Pelinka, and they bring in Brian Colangelo to do a cold GM situation.
You don't think Jason Kidd would fit well with Lonzo Ball and LeBron? You don't think he could coach
He can't coach a fucking NBA team in 2019. We have seen what's happened with the Milwaukee Bucks from him putting together that whatever offense, that shitty fucking antiquated version of a modern offense toward what we're seeing Mike Budenholzer do right now, which is innovative, progressive, and
but that team, as constructed, doesn't play that way. I think J Kidd would be a good match for that team.
Do you have Stockholm syndrome, Jason Kidd? Like, did he like fucking kidnap you as a child?
I love him.
Yeah,
you know who has a better chance than Jason Kidd? I think in my mind,
Mark Jackson,
Kobe Bryant.
Has
a better chance of
getting the job,
of getting that job than Jason Kidd. Yeah,
Magic's got to come out of friggin'. Oh no, he never coached, did he?
No, neither is Kobe, and I could still see the Magic getting Kobe.
You knew who I want to coach the Lakers? My boy, Penny Hardaway.
He's at Memphis. He's doing good work.
You know, I love Penny because you get all these fucking, I was going to say shitbag coaches. You get these shitbag coaches like Derek Fisher and Jason Kidd. These guys haven't gone through the ringer. They haven't coached at an amateur side. Reps. They haven't like been on those shitty bus rides. They haven't seen the bottom of the bottom when it comes to the coaching world.
Hey.
And Penny Hardaway was fucking coaching high school basketball in Memphis, went to college.
When you're an all-time great player, you're given the benefit of the doubt is how it works. And that's why he was given that job.
What about, I'm going to throw these big super names out there. What about Patrick Ewing? Patrick Ewing's been coaching at Georgetown now for a while. He's let's talk about someone who's putting in the dues.
The reps. Oh, yeah. No, you know what, dude?
Patrick Ewing's someone
there's a bias. There's a bias towards big men as coaches. And I think especially African-American, like a guy like Ewing, right? He really had to put in his reps.
But what if it's a guy
you heard it here first.
But they need a big name to reign in that roster.
Yeah.
Well, think about the best teams in the NBA. Who is leading that team? It's not former NBA players. It's all these white tacticians who just like, because if Patrick Ewing came in,
like the Brad
his ego
Stevens
would come into play. Yeah. He would say no to the evolution of floor spacing, be like, fucking grit and grind every day.
There's both. You have both, but you're right. There is that. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back next week. Catch us on.
We are on Spotify, obviously, iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, TuneIn, and anywhere else you listen to your podcasts.
Hey, Brand, can I just give a shout out to a young man that got released from Bloorview Children's Hospital today? First, so Sasha, glad to see that you're recovered. And second, to all the staff there that helped them. They do such amazing work there. A lot of people claim to be changing lives, MLSE, but they're actually doing it. So
hey, MLSE's doing a good job. I know people that work at the
offices there. Oh yeah,
not the offices.
50-50 draws, baby.
Not the offices, at the
launch pad.
At the launch pad.
Oh yeah, they do great work. Yeah. Transforming the lives of youth, indeed.
And just a heads up, guys, we still have the social media giveaway on Instagram.
Get your toques. I'm wearing one right now. There's 5 to give away. All you got to do is like the post on Twitter or Instagram, tag a friend, and follow us, and you're good to go. You're in the draw. The draw's going to be next Sunday, so it's going to be, I don't know what date that is off the top of my head. I'm going to pull it up now. It's March 16th. So March 16th is the final draw date. We're
coming up.
5 lucky winners for the toque.
They're great toques to keep you warm.
Second place prize gets a free
with
back.
New Era.
Second place prize gets a free back massage from Greg Yeroshatis. He's Cypriot. He'll oil himself up and he'll just lather it on, boys. All right.
Valued at $400.
On that note.
Bye.